order.
Sorry.
Lisa, could we have a roll call, please?
Of course. Chair Collie Hutter,
Here.
Vice Chair Michelle Squaga,
Here.
Councilmember Bender, sorry.
Here.
Councilmember Brown,
Here.
Councilmember Dave,
Here.
Councilmember Kazmierski,
Here.
Councilmember Knutson,
Excused.
Councilmember Madole,
Here.
Councilmember McCormick,
Present.
Councilmember Ryan is on her way. Councilmember Schilling,
Here.
Councilmember Thurman,
Here.
Councilmember Woodring,
Here.
Heather Combs Sally, Cheryl Cardoza,
Here.
Kimberly Tran,
Here.
and Cheryl Ward.
Here.
We do have a quorum.
Thank you very much. And before we go to public comment, I would like to, our visitors are behind us, which we apologize, but using this space here, I'd like to welcome Regent Del Carlo and Vice Chancellor Nate McKinnon for joining us. Thank you very much for being with us. And at this point, we have public comment. Public comment will be taken during this agenda item. No action may be taken on a matter raised under this item until the matter is included on an agenda item on which action may be taken. Comments will be limited to 2 minutes per person. Persons making comment will be asked to begin by stating their name for the record and to spell their last name. The council chair may elect to allow additional public comment on a specific agenda item when that agenda item is being considered. Do we have any public comment? Hearing none, we will move on to agenda item 3, the approval of the minutes of the meeting of May 5th, 2017. The minutes have been distributed. Are there any corrections? Did we all read them? Yeah. Any corrections? Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Thank you. A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Opposed? Okay, thank you. The minutes are approved. Item number 4, election of officers. In accordance with NC Procedures and Guidelines Manual, Chapter 17, Section 1D, the Institutional Advisory Council will conduct an election for chair and vice chair. These officers will serve 2-year terms. I would like to have a call for nomination for the chair of the Truckee Meadows Community College Institute Advisory Council.
I would like to nominate Elmar Davi as chair of the Institutional Advisory Council.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any other nominations? Hearing none, I will move for a vote. All those in favor of electing Elmar Davi, chair of the TMCC IAC, please say yay.
Yay.
Thank you. Any opposed? Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Tough act to follow, Elmar.
Thank you. And I would like to hear nominations for the position of Vice Chair of the TMCC IAC. Any nominations at this time?
Madam Chair, I'd like to nominate, Nancy McCormick as Vice Chair of the Truckee Meadows Community College IAC for the next term.
Thank you very much. Any other nominations? Hearing none, we will close the nominations, and I ask for the vote for Nancy McCormick for Vice Chair of the TMCC IAC. Yes?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none? Thank
Other
you very
than
much,
Nancy's
Nancy. Congratulations. Thank you both for accepting the nominations. And that, we will move on to item number 5. You notice I still have the gavel. I have not pried my hands off this yet. We will move to item 5, the presentation on the International Student Program. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Natalie Brown, and I'm the Program Director for Advising, and I oversee our international program at TMCC. So I have a brief presentation for you all just about what's been going on with international programs this past year. You know, starting with the economic benefit for having international students in Northern Nevada. So in 2015-16, we had 716 international students in Northern Nevada. Economic impact, about $18 million with 240 direct and indirect jobs. Of those 240 direct jobs created in 2015-16, 93% of them were in higher education, accommodation, dining, and retail. Some of the countries of origin for community college international students. So the top sending countries, and this will be important when we start looking at where we're planning on doing our recruitment and marketing efforts. The top sending are in China, Vietnam, South Korea, Japan, and Mexico. And emerging markets being Vietnam, Colombia, Indonesia, Nigeria, and Costa Rica. So these are going to be specifically for international students coming to community colleges. This is a map where our current international students on F1 visas are coming from. So we have the majority of our students coming from Japan. We have a long-standing relationship with a English language institute out of Japan, which has historically brought us high numbers. But we do have to diversify, and so that's something that we're looking at now. And so Japan, Korea, India, China, those are definitely our top markets for TMCC. But you can see we have a wide diversity of students from all across the globe. So we have students representing 19 different countries that are starting TMCC this fall semester. Some of the things we're looking at as far as focusing on recruitment will be what's called armchair recruitment. What can we do from the comfort of our own offices? And so that's going to be things like virtual fairs in partnership with the U.S. Commercial Service. So this past year we did virtual fairs with Indonesia, and those are agents coming from Indonesia. We did virtual fairs with Philippines, and we have 2 brand new F1 students coming from the Philippines this year, so that's fantastic. They also put on and help us put together what's called FAM tours, so familiarization tours, where agents from these countries come to TMCC, and we usually do those in partnership with Sierra Nevada College and University of Nevada, Reno. So this past year, we had agents from Thailand come and visit our beautiful campus. And then increased advertising and marketing on all fronts. So what can we do digitally to really get our brand and our name out there? I mean, we have a beautiful campus, we have a great community, and we need to make sure everybody else is aware of that too. We're also looking at strategic in-country recruitment, but balancing the cost and resources available, building that brand recognition over time, and looking at those new and emerging markets. Collaboration with the governor's office, so our Vice President Estela Gutierrez and Dr. Karin Hilgersum recently got back from the GoEd trade mission to South America. And do you want to share briefly a little bit about that?
Yes, and should we both go up to the podium, Stella? Would that be okay, colleagues?
Yes,
That might
please,
make it a
yes.
little, and then that'll save time later. Okay, so I'm Dr. Karin Hilgersum, and for the record, and this is Vice President of Student Services.
Estela Gutierrez.
Estela Gutierrez, who is, by the way, the TMCC secret weapon. Estela was one of the only individuals, I think, on the trade mission, well, other than a DRI, who spoke fluent Spanish. So one of the things that made our visits extremely effective, in my opinion, was the fact that Estela could very quickly speak Spanish with many of our hosts at the community colleges and the universities. So Estela and I were extremely busy Monday through Friday. They were very long days. We visited several technical colleges, and I'll let Estela go into that because her pronunciation is so much better than mine.
You're right. So we first visited Lima, and so we had 2 vocational schools. So we met with Sanati, and we met with TechSoup. So both of those technical schools, very large nonprofit institutions. Senati is one of the largest ones, and by law, all of the businesses actually fund Senati. So those were the two technical schools. And then in Chile, we met with DUOP and also with INATAP, and so two major vocational schools as well. So I want to thank Natalie because this took a year in establishing a relationship with GoEd, and so usually with trade missions, you go to the universities. So we're saying, hey, wait a minute, we're part of the economic development as well as a university, so we have the opportunity to, for the first time, meet with technical schools. So what were some of the outcomes? One of the outcomes, is that in Lima, we met with 85 Peruvian students, and two, on Friday of next week, we are going to set up a Skype with Senati, and we're going to go into a partnership and try to get a grant so we could establish a relationship with them and us and create something. I just don't know just yet. So we're gonna create something so we could bring more students from Peru. So that's number one. And number two, believe it or not, Chile kind of surprised us. Chile, so students in Lima, they speak English much better than Chile, which I was kind of surprised because they're higher educated and so forth. So Chile doesn't know a whole lot about the community colleges. So South America and Central America are actually now learning more about community colleges. So we've established relationships with Costa Rica, who's going to make this year the community college year, and then Peru, it's going to be the year of the community college. So now Chile is going to go on board as well. We met with U.S. Embassy. I forget her name, I'm sorry. Carolyn is her first name. And so we had the opportunity to meet with her delegation for higher education. They're all in it with us as far as community colleges, especially with Chileans who need to learn English. So that's kind of like an overview. It was a tiring, it was really fast. I mean, we got up in the morning and it was like we just fell asleep at the end of the day. So it was nonstop.
Yeah, and a couple of things I'll add to that. First, I'll sort of rewind and say that I think it's really important to Truckee Meadows Community College that as we grow, as we become more complicated, and we actually are unbelievably complicated now, that part of what we aspire toward is a global campus. That the reason that we have international students on our campus is not just to assist the international students, that's terrific, and there is an economic development component, but it's also to bridge, to share meaning, to bridge understandings between domestic students, American students, and students from other cultures. So a real college campus has a robust international student program. Our student program is very good. It really is. And so we average about 50 students a year. Unfortunately for Natalie and Estella, I've set a new target. And I've said, you know what, I think we really need to try to get to the 200 students per year mark in the next few years and see where that takes us. When you reach that threshold, then it can increase rather quickly from that point on, because it means that your tentacles are out there worldwide, bringing a lot of acknowledgement and recognition to your community college campus. So I want to express my deep gratitude to Dr. Natalie Brown and also her vice president, because when a new president comes on board with this sort of vision, to see the can-do attitude and the step it up with really no new resources has been a total delight for me this past year. It's one of the highlights of my first year at TMCC, is this sort of can-do spirit and very, very well organized. So Natalie worked very closely with Governor Sandoval's staff to plan our visit, and Estella's not kidding. I mean, we were loaded in that van in the early morning, and we didn't get back till right before dinner time. And I think, and one day we missed a lunch because we were too busy having a really nice visit. You know, so we were really working hard because of some great planning effort that went into the advance of the trip. The other thing I want to say that I found very interesting, a couple of things. The technical colleges that we visited had approximately 100,000 students per year each, because they're systems across the country. So they might have a dozen locations all over the country, but they were these massive technical college systems. I also think there's a recognition that, especially in Lima, it is one of the primary answers of getting upward socioeconomic mobility. That if they can't get a handle on this, they're going to be facing, they'll be an underdeveloped country for quite a long time. Chile is really almost a developed country. It was really quite remarkable and beautiful and very different in the experience. So we also hope that we can figure out some ways to have faculty exchanges, more study abroad programs with these cultures. They were very interested in marrying English as a second language immersion with technical training, which was also very, very good. Some of their equipment was superior to ours. Some of it was not. So that was just a fascinating comparison. Anyway, so I think that kind of wraps it up for now, but my deep gratitude, and it was a great trip, and we will continue to follow up and make sure that we realize the full benefit with the new partners that we met at the Governor's Trade Mission. So, thank you.
All right. So we've been busy this year, and that's just one of our recruitment events that we had going on this past year. And then for fall 17-18 this next year, we're going to increase the partnerships that we're working with agents internationally. And that's a fairly new phenomenon for the United States, but something that's been very well established throughout the world, and many markets are very agent-driven. So some of those high community college markets like Vietnam are almost exclusively driven by agents. So students are working with those agents in those countries to help them figure out where to go to school. And so we actually went to an agent fair this past year, Estelle and myself. And so we are partnering with 30 different agents from this past year. And we have students coming this fall. One student in particular coming from Turkey. That's one of our new agents that we signed on this year. So I think that's going to be great too. And then also looking at the emerging markets and where our students are coming from, we will be doing some in-country recruitment to Japan and Korea. We're looking at China, Southeast Asia, and the U.S. Commercial Service Partnerships, so specifically in areas like Costa Rica, where they are so supportive of the community college market. And it's not just about recruiting our students, but we want to make sure that they have that sense of belonging when they get here to TMCC. So not just connecting with the services that we have available, things like academic advisement, international advisement, counseling services, tutoring and learning center, to name a few, but engaging with the campus. So how can we get our students involved and part of our campus community? And then creating that sense of a belonging through things like International Services Center. So we will be opening our brand new Diversity and International Student Center this fall semester, which is so exciting. We're going to have a home for these students. We actually hired 3 brand new international student peer mentors. So they are 3 of our current F1 visa students to help us with our marketing, with our activities for our other students. And then just general social activities and events. That's something we're really trying to ramp up. Something that we've been working on this past year is the guaranteed transfer admission for our international students specifically. So international students, we do have guaranteed transfer within, University of Nevada, Reno, University of Nevada, Las Vegas. Majority of our students do love the Reno area and end up staying, but now they have some options outside of our state. So we have guaranteed transfer admissions set up now with California State, Chico, Sacramento, San Francisco, and California is one of the biggest spots where international students want to gravitate towards. So if they can start with us, where it's a little bit less expensive to live, schooling is a little bit less expensive, and then transfer, that saves them a lot of money. Also, just other options like University of Hawaii Hilo. I mean, for students in Costa Rica, for instance, they love our area, the Lake Tahoe. A lot of them have heard of kind of the Reno Tahoe area, which was surprising to me, and many have actually been here. But if they're looking at doing something like marine biology, now we have a 2+2 partnership with University of Hawaii Hilo for some of those students who want to start with us for 2 years, get that foundational knowledge, and then transfer on. West Virginia University is a brand new partnership for us just the last 2 weeks, based on the Global Forum with Education USA that I went to this last week. And so we're working on specific programs that our students would be looking at transferring to somewhere like that. The next step, so this is a list that we came up with at the beginning of fall of last year. The International Student Center, we can check that one off our list. That will be opening this fall. Housing, we are now partnering with a homestay organization that actually started out of Foothill De Anza College in Northern California. So we have homestay opportunities for our students to have that host family experience. So we could check that one off our list. Peer mentoring program, we just hired first 3 peer mentors for our international student program. Check that one off the list. Transportation is still one of those areas that we're looking at, depending on the campus location, and adding some of those campus locations for our international student services and our international students is going to still be an ongoing area for us to work on. And then just generally, what are other successful community colleges doing? What are some things that we can learn? What are some things that we can take on from that? And like Dr. Hilgerson said, our goal is 200 students. Is it ambitious? Absolutely. Is it doable? Absolutely. So I think that's something that we're looking at, and I mean, there's so many benefits to diversifying your campus, like Dr. Hilgerson was mentioning. I mean, in addition to the economic impact, the increased FTE, the higher retention rates for our international students, but just creating that more global, diverse environment for all of our students, international and domestic. All right, thank you guys.
Interesting.
Thank you very much. Any questions at this time? We have a few minutes. Nancy.
For the record, Nancy McCormick with you, Don. I'm just wondering if there is an opportunity also to retain these students and get them into the workforce here for those that may not be headed toward the additional education, and if there's a way to just incorporate that into the program so that we are potentially able to hold on to some of these folks, and I don't know if it's H-2B visa or what we could do to migrate into showing them the employers in the region, showing them the opportunities that are here, and potentially keeping them here if they're not headed to four-year university.
I say that would be a great idea for a lot of our students, but the F1 visa is a non-immigrant visa. And so these students are coming to us with an F1 visa with the understanding that they will be studying here and going home. But after they complete a 2-year degree, like with Truckee Meadows Community College, they do have an opportunity for optional practical training. So they can stay with us an additional year as paid employment opportunities in that field. And that's been a great selling point for our international students also, because not only are they gaining the skills in the classroom, but they're also getting that hands-on work experience as an option before they return home.
Thank you. Any other questions? I have a quick question on this. As we're looking to bring people in, I mean, like I have some international operations, and I think probably others do here, and very often we have a lot of international customers who would say they would love to have their kids have the opportunity to study in this country. And this sounds wonderful. I could say contact Truckee Meadows Community College, because then that handles the educational portion, and if they can do some work, or we can do that, but to be able to say to our customers, if as engineers in other countries, would your son or daughter like to come to Truckee Meadows Community College and learn how we train our employees, especially if they're going to be working on our parts internationally? Is that something that we could
Absolutely.
look at?
And so we're happy to help any of those potential students, potential student parents with any questions along those lines from step 1 all the way through to admission and graduation.
Thank you very much.
So any of those questions, and we do have a lot of students that are coming, especially more recently, that have family members that are working in organizations here in Northern Nevada, and then are bringing their children over on F1 visas. So yes,
Great.
for sure,
Thank
we're happy
you.
to help.
Anyone else? Thank you very much. Very interesting. And
Thank you.
We learn something new about TMCC every day. We think we understand it, and then there's another piece of it. Perfect. So now we're on to item number 6, the
Okay.
President's update.
So the first thing I'd like to say is congratulations to Elmar Davi and to Nancy.
Thank you.
For your new role. I am delighted that you are both serving in the role, and I really look forward to working with the two of you to have a really productive and fantastic new year. So congratulations.
Thank you.
I also would like to offer congratulations to Nate McKenna, and in a minute, if you're up to maybe you want to come to the podium and say a few things about yourself. But before you do that, I'll share your bio. And that is Nate McKinnon joined NSHE in July of 2017 as the Vice Chancellor for Community Colleges. In the role, he works closely with the Chancellor, the Board of Regents, the community college presidents. He's assisting us with coordination, providing leadership, and advocating for the systems for community colleges. And we're so pleased that he's joined us. Prior to his employment with NSHE, Mr. McKinnon served 8 years as Assistant Commissioner and Chief of Staff for the Massachusetts Department of Education. He previously held positions as Research Director for the Joint Committee on Education for the Massachusetts State Legislature and Research Coordinator Education Specialist Department Spokesperson for the Office of the Commissioner in the Massachusetts Department of Education. The other thing that I think he's quite humble about is that his master's degree is from Harvard University. So he's a Harvard educated person, which I think is pretty cool. Yeah. You know, I think that it's nice to have diversity among the university backgrounds that we each bring to the state of Nevada. So anyway, welcome, Nate, and if you would like to come to the podium
Sure,
and
I'd be happy
tell
to.
us a little bit about your plans, that'd be great.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
How's everyone doing?
Very
All
well.
right, great. I was just talking to Regent Del Carlo, and good news, we've actually decided to go ahead and double your salary as IAC members. So congratulations. No, thank you very much. It's great to be here. I am new to Nevada, and feel already as though I'm at home, which makes me truly understand the meaning of home means Nevada, and everyone's been truly welcoming, so thank you. I'm very excited to be in this role. It's a new role to the system, and it's rather unique across the country as well. Typically in higher education systems, there's a system of higher education like we have in Nevada that's a singular system, and community colleges get lost in that. Or there's a completely separate system, and they don't work well with the universities at all, and there's a real lack of coordination, and they work in silos. So the concept that the folks at NSHE and the Board of Regents and the legislature, all the way to the governor himself, have taken upon themselves to really try and establish a system within the system for community colleges, to elevate the importance of community colleges to the state of Nevada, and to try and highlight to both current and prospective employers how serious we are about using our community colleges to help educate Nevadans and create a 21st century workforce. We have very ambitious goals when it comes to credentialing students and putting more students into the workplace with degrees. It's going to take a lot of work. Our 4 community colleges are already doing great things all across the board. This building speaks of itself, of how fantastic things are at TMCC when it comes to that. And I just want to say how incredibly unique I think the IACs are and why your involvement is so important. The connection to the workforce is a community college's lifeline. And for any community college to really know and understand what the employers in its region need is the way that they are successful. If that becomes disconnected at any point, a community college fails, because then students are potentially going down paths that isn't necessarily relevant to the region, and that doesn't work for anyone. So your attendance at these meetings, your participation, and the pure structure of them speaks volumes about the seriousness in Washoe County for TMCC and to have an educated 21st century workforce. And I'm just incredibly delighted to be here, to be a part of this. Thank you, President Hilgerson, for inviting me today. I was at the campus yesterday for a graduation program for the Summer Bridge. So, it's certainly taking advantage of the fact I'm living here in the Valley to be able to spend time at this terrific college. So I won't take up any more of your time. And if anybody wants to ask questions later, I'd be happy to talk more about what we're hoping to do as a system. We have a new chancellor, and he's got a lot of great, ambitious ideas, and it's going to be a very exciting year ahead. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. For the next part of my presentation, I have a handout for you. Don't worry, it's not long to read. It's a nice little budget handout that I thought would be helpful. So, and I'm actually on C, update on how TMCC budget is affected by legislature. And so the handout that I'm providing to you is a biennial budget summary for the upcoming biennium. And if I could just bring your attention to the third column when the handout is passed around, that's the column that is the most pertinent today because that's the column that we ended up with. So if you scroll down to the TMCC column on the, first of all, I should mention, let me back up a bit. My first 3 months here, because I arrived June 15th of last year, about 2 or 3 weeks later, word comes from NSHE that brace yourself for a 5% budget cut. And then another couple of weeks goes by. Well, brace yourself, it might be up to 10%. Please plan for budget reduction scenarios, and how would you go about doing this? And mind you, I just came from a college where we had massive budget cuts every year of the 4 years I was there, and it was heartbreaking, to be perfectly honest. But I've learned how to do it, so I know how to do it. So we prepared our letter, and we sent the letter in. Here's what we would do. Basically, go in there with the scalpel, and every unit would prepare, and then we would, as a leadership team, decide what could absolutely not be cut, and what needed to be cut, and what could be cut minimally, right? And then a few weeks later, oh, guess what? You don't have to make a budget cut at all. And the governor's, there's going to be new money for you. And so it was quite the roller coaster ride, but I can honestly say I am delighted. I think, speaking on behalf of TMCC leadership, I think overall, considering where we started and where we ended, it's really a good, solid budget. We did not get everything we wanted. I mean, I think that one of the top priorities was merit pay and assisting with faculty salaries. We didn't get that. That said, all employees received COLAs, 3%, for a total of 6% over the biennium, which is really good news. So that piece was okay, not the greatest, but it was much better than a 5 to 10% budget reduction. So when you look to TMCC, what you can see is for caseload growth, we're getting about $1 million per year each year of the biennium. Our enhancement requests, the CTE funding formula change did occur. So it means that the CTE funding for certain codes, 4 codes to be precise, manufacturing is one of those codes, and transportation and logistics is another code. The formula was in essence doubled. So what that translates into is approximately 1.9 million the first year of the biennium and 2.53 the second year. The 1.9 million is 75% of the 100% request, which is fully funded in the second year. So that's why you see 2 different numbers there. And that was done to get to a specific number for the system, which needed to happen. And I'm glad that, to his credit, I think Chancellor White did a very good job working with legislators to bring forth an understanding of what we absolutely needed, and yet a willingness to compromise so that all of the agencies in the state could live with the budget. So, and then if your finger rolls down a little bit, capacity enhancement. This was a list that Truckee Meadows Community College submitted prior to my arrival, about a year before. And these were areas where we believe we could grow or improve upon ourselves if we had additional monies. And for capacity enhancement system-wide, you can see there's, approximately 10 million, and our share of that is 1 million in the second year of the biennium. And again, this was one of those compromise positions where in order to get to the dollar amount that was workable and viable for all concerned, all of the NSHE systems, all of the NSHE universities and community colleges said, you know what, if we have to, we won't just skip the first year and fund us in the second year. So when you add it up, it's a very nice addition to the TMCC budget. And I just wanted to share this with you so that you were well informed. Any questions about that?
Any questions? I know we've been through budget and we've been through, and again, maybe sometime we can take some time and future meeting to once more go through the funding formula so that we all understand where the changes are. But I'm just so appreciative that we did not have cuts again. And that I think this is a recognition that the community colleges are vitally important to education in this state, and that it's a good trend. So hopefully we can keep the trend moving.
Right.
But thank you for this. And if anybody has questions, who's a good person to contact? Because I know we all have questions on these.
That would be Vice President Jim New.
Oh,
Vice President of Administration and Finance, Jim New.
so Jim, if we
If you have questions.
if we have questions, can we call you and
On the
for
budget.
explanations on some of these things? Thank you, Jim, because I know, and I'm sure Elmar, you need to be trained in I think Nancy probably knows this funding formula as well as most of us, but it's very important. If you're not familiar with it, maybe we can put together a little training on that. And just as a side note, when we first started and we were learning about the budget, and I know we had a lot of meetings, certain individuals at NSHE were appalled to find out that they were training IAC members in the nuances of the budgeting, and they kept saying, who's telling you these things? And we're like,
Right.
but it's very important that we understand it. And thank you very much, and thank you, Jim. And now we're on the enrollment.
Yes, so at this point in time, I don't have great news to report, but I don't have bad news to report. We still have a few weeks left of enrollment, and I'm not sure where it is as of today or yesterday, but we know that right now we were down between 1% and 2%. 2% at this point, which is livable. However, we would love to see that come up. And this year is very critical, so we continue to do every possible strategy that you could imagine between marketing and also making phone calls and reaching out to students who should be continuing but have not yet enrolled in courses. So I can tell you that there's a lot of work happening right now behind the scenes at TMCC to try to bring that number up to at least a plateau. Yes, John?
It's probably early to know, but have you been able to identify a certain population, or is it just across the board?
No, we can identify certain segments of the college where enrollment is up or down. And Elena, did you want to, and Elena can give you a little more on that. While she's walking up to the podium, so we are marketing like we've never marketed before, and we will continue to expand on that. I think some of the effects of marketing will probably be felt in spring term because some of this got rolled out a little late. I can tell you though that the new tagline is TMCC, the college for the new Nevada.
Oh,
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Okay. The college for the new Nevada. The other thing, we also have hashtag TMCC Pays Off. And that's sort of that direct connection to jobs and good return on investment. And Elena, if you feel free to talk a little more about that as well.
Wonderful. Good morning, Elena Bubnova for the record. Well, we are, as we get into the month of August, all hands on deck for enrollment-related activities. And typically, unlike the four-year institutions, we do see quite a bit of action in the month of August. If four-year students, by the time we're looking at March, April, the freshman class enrollments pretty much shape up, it's a different story for us. So we do get quite a few students that kind of come to us last minute, or they wait, or they check out for the summer, and then they come back. So we do have hopes for this month to see our enrollment tick up a little bit. And this is the month where we have a whole series of communications planned, where we kind of do a friendly nudge to some of our students that applied but might have not enrolled yet, or some of our students that attended in the spring, but they have not re-enrolled for the fall semester, but we know that they haven't graduated. So there's like a series of steps that are planned for the month of August to kind of get everyone going with respect to enrollment. So really lots of things are happening. We have additional advising sessions scheduled because we really try to emphasize the advising component for the incoming students so that they start their college career on the right track, enrolling in math and English and doing all those important things that we know kind of correlate to their success. And of course we just rolled out our new ad campaign in the second week of July, I believe is when we went live, second, third. So, you know, it's just started really. And I don't know, we haven't really planned on this today, but we'll show you some of the photography and the ads that we created around this whole idea, which really was a conversation on campus. And I spoke about it a little bit to you guys back in May in terms of starting a year ago, really, as a campus-wide conversation, kind of polling the campus community about what we are, doing some soul searching, finding the words that we think represent us, trying to identify sort of the most important meaning that we carry out there in the community and what we provide in terms of the service to the residents of our immediate service area. And so all of that stuff, we kind of noodled on it for a little bit. We did some focus groups. We talked to our recruiters that interact directly with the high school kids and tell us about the high school kids' perception of TMCC. So all of these kinds of things we worked on over the last year, and then we worked with the Abbey agency in town to kind of create this ad campaign that is out there right now that really emphasizes sort of the innovative, edgy aspect of TMCC, how we really want to be out there in step with the Northern Nevada vibrant economy and all the new and exciting things that are happening in the community. And we want to be right there. We want to be kind of the face of the new exciting emerging businesses and industries and workforce development, and thus the college for the new Nevada. So we are kind of banking on the effect of that campaign as well. Thank you. Any
You
questions?
know, I thought Jason Hidalgo's coverage of this center was great.
Yes.
And for him to spend that much time
Right.
was really wonderful. And I don't know if he, now that you have a rapport with him, if he can help you with your message of enrollment.
Right.
But that was a nice score.
Right. No, absolutely. We have the four-year bachelor's degree in logistics ad campaign going out there. Even though it's obviously specifically centered on the four-year program, we kind of hope to get a lot of recognition and a lot of kind of face time out there in the community from those efforts as well.
Thank you, Elena.
Just one last thing, though. When you say you're down, are you, a point or two, are you comparing yourself with the same time last year, or are you comparing yourself with where you started the school year?
It's a point-in-time comparison. So we really kind of, for our enrollment and student services planning purposes, we kind of want to be able to really monitor where we were last year at this particular point in time, so that it helps us with planning. And so it is a point-in-time comparison.
So, Polly, back to John's question related to the different groups.
I'm sorry,
right,
yes.
Which, and I'm recalling that we're down a little bit on continuing students.
So one of the biggest, when you look at the 2% drop, it really is, it almost never is with one particular group of students, I mean, we obviously do think that the near zero unemployment rate in the community has something to do with the enrollment. And enrollments for community colleges are usually counter-cyclical to enrollment. So economy goes up, our enrollments go down. So there is a little bit of that. We see that in some of our older demographic. But what we also seen is kind of a drop across the board in the courses that are traditionally transfer types of courses or general education types of courses. So, and that's, again, that is because we're right next to a big, powerful four-year institution. So as their enrollments are a little more robust, we sometimes see our students that maybe ordinarily would have started at a community college kind of start at a four-year institution. So that's one area where we do clearly see some downward trends.
And I think that one of the recent things that I discovered is that it appears that more of our students are transferring prior to the completion of an Associate of Arts degree. So that they're transferring after, is right. And hopefully those students are ready to succeed in the university environment. Otherwise, they will come back. That's what ends up happening.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
We're up 10% in new students. I just wanted to make sure.
Oh, good, but we're up 10% in new students. Thank you.
No.
Yeah, which is great. So,
Excellent. Excellent. So the ad campaign is reaching out to,
Yes.
apparently to the, you're connecting with the community. And so now we
Yes.
have to learn to keep connected to the students that we brought in before, retention.
And we'll also be distributing in a variety of ways. We're talking about everything. Billboards, wrapped vehicles. I mean, we're really talking about all different strategies. So anyway.
So just even a deeper dive into that 10% increase in new students, how many of those are graduates of Washoe County School District versus others coming from the employment sector?
I would venture to guess that the majority of them are going to be recent high school grads.
But that's a really good question. I think we should drill down a little bit into that.
Yeah, because I think it goes back
Yeah.
to our relationship with Washoe
Right.
County School District and their increase in their graduation rate.
And I think you'll hear a little later from Dean Dalpy, who will give you some really kind of good news about what's happening here in the center over the course of the summer. So, but I'm not going to steal his thunder. Okay, the last thing I want to mention is update on private partnerships. The Sierra Nevada College is, we definitely got a late start on that one too, but we are ready to go. Both institutions are very excited. You'll be invited to a sort of kickoff ceremony at some point. We're thinking it will be second week in September. And I don't know if Dr. Marie Mergolo-Poor was still, oh, there she is. Is there anything you'd like to add about that, or does that cover it?
Basically just the degree that will be transferring our business to their global business,
Okay.
or entrepreneurship degree to their
Oh, you have to go, you must go, or I can just repeat it. I think what Dr. Marie is saying is that we've got a really great sort of seamless transfer pathway between TMCC's business degree and the global business degree offered by Sierra Nevada College. We're also working toward a similar pathway in psychology as well, and because they're very interested in that, and it's a very popular major for us. So that is all very exciting. And then finally, I'll close because I know we have a packed agenda. We're also looking into public-private partnerships for construction of the EATS facility. And last week, we received a number of responses to our proposal request. We haven't had time to really review them in the proper fashion, other than a few of us have sort of skimmed them. And it really is a very exciting possibility for how to construct a building at a community college campus in the state of Nevada. One of the things that I'm concerned about and will continue to be concerned about, and I'm hoping Nate will help, is the capital process for community colleges at this point in time in the state of Nevada is uncertain at best, pretty much unfunded in reality. And so it leaves us with either private donations or we service the debt using reserves or operating dollars. And it's, as you know, it's very difficult for community colleges to get the same kind of private funding as universities for some really good reasons, right? Very, very difficult, however. And operating dollars, we don't get the same kind of funding per student, and our tuition certainly isn't the same. And so it's really a big question mark in this state, and it's something that there will come a point if we cannot correct this, and I think the point is probably between, 7 and 10 years from now, where community colleges start looking pretty shabby. And we're going to think, wow, why didn't we start finding a way to give renovation dollars or new building dollars or expansion of space dollars? Why didn't we find a way to do that 7 years ago before we let our colleges get to this point? We sit now in a gorgeous facility thanks to the donation of lots of donors, but primarily the Pennington Foundation, thankfully. But if they were not in this state, we wouldn't be sitting here, right? So anyway.
Just to comment on that, I met with someone development person that actually led the charge on several of the new buildings at Sierra Nevada College.
Yes.
And if you haven't met her, she's got programs now that are designed and has investors now that are designed to literally build the building. You pay the rent, and after 30 years, you own the building. So
That's exactly what the proposals were that we can now look into. We opened them last week.
Okay,
P3 Partnerships. And I am aware of that company.
okay. They have quite a track record of
Right.
success, so.
Yes. And we might have to tap your brain on that one. Anyway. So thank you. That concludes my report.
Any questions, comments at this time? Looking at how we're moving through this agenda today, I think before we start discussing all the things that we've perhaps been doing this summer, maybe we'll take the break now so everyone can get some coffee and some of that lovely food over there. And at 10 minutes, and then at 5 after 10, we will reconvene. Okay, would like to get started. Agenda item number 7. Where the IAC council member outreach reports, in other words, what we've learned, what we haven't learned, questions you might have. And as we'll start just around the table with Susan, but so that Elmar has a chance to figure out who these people are. I know he knows some of you very well, but some of us he's not so sure about. So Susan, if you could introduce just a quick bio, and then anything you've learned, unlearned, have connections to the college, good things happening.
All right. Good morning. My name is Susan Schilling, and I'm the undersheriff for Washoe County, for your county. And I've been on the IAC about a year or so. And we try very hard to partner with TMCC really in 2 ways. One, trying to steal your graduates as employees by job postings, and number 2 is to have our employees who for whatever reason didn't finish their higher education to go back. It's so close. In case you didn't know, you could throw a rock from TMCC and hit the sheriff's office. So it's a really easy partnership for us. So I'm sorry.
We'd get arrested for that.
Oh no, I'll take care of you.
I got some parking tickets while you're at it.
Oh, once we're at it. So just a couple of updates about what we've done is we continuously are posting our job openings on the TMCC website, and obviously as they expire, we have to add them back in. We have tried very hard to get an intern for many of our locations, but as you can imagine, working at the sheriff's office, you kind of have to have a really tight background. So that seems to be the stumbling point for us. And as millennials enter the workforce, we're having to change our ways as well. So we are always trying to get interns to come into the sheriff's office, kind of share that partnership as well. And another partnership that we have is with Zach back there, and we will be, I'm not going to steal any of his thunder, but we are going to be partnering with him in November for his job fair. And the partnership with veterans, especially veteran students and working in law enforcement is a long partnership, and so we like to continue that with us as well. And obviously anytime we can assist with being guest speakers or promoting TMCC, we do that as well. But on a personal level, my very, very favorite thing about TMCC is I have the second child who is now a senior in the Jumpstart program, and I tell everybody else's parent who doesn't have their child in that program that they're really wasting their time in regular school, because especially as a youngest child, the TMCC Jumpstart program, where they attend high school and college courses and you only have to pay for books, which is awesome for parents, is just the most wonderful thing I think that TMCC does, and I just love it. And it's very personal for me because it's the second child I have that's going to graduate that program. And that's all I have to share today. Thank you.
Thank you. Very much. Dana.
I missed the instructions. What were they? I was getting coffee. Sorry.
Dana, could you introduce yourself, and perhaps maybe you could tell us a little bit any of the new programs at the Washoe County School District? And
Absolutely. I am Dana Ryan, Washoe County School District Director of Signature Academies and Career and Technical Education. So my purview is really about those workforce development, workforce pipeline programs that help kids bring their academic soft skills to a place where they can learn technical skills and apply them to problem solving, so that when they graduate, they're ready to come to TMCC, finish their certification or degree program, go out to the workforce, or go right on to a 4-year program if that's what they choose. So our relationship with Truckee Meadows Community College, I think, is foundational, and without it, I don't know that we would have we really would have prepared students. So not only in our programs do they earn articulated credit, which jumpstarts them onto a degree pathway or a certification pathway, but we also have additional opportunities for dual credit through the Jumpstart program. So not to confuse the two, an articulated credit is a student who's taking a pathway in career and technical education taught by a high school instructor. When they finish that, successfully finish that pathway, passing their tests, earning a B average, they get an opportunity to get these credits from TMCC. So if you're a metalworking student, for instance, you get 20 credits. If you are a graphic design student, you get 9 credits. So each of them has a different bundle of credits that they get. And in their minds, that helps them see themselves as college students, right, as college bound. In addition to that, we offer them dual credit opportunities with TMCC where they're taking Math 126 or Engineering 100 or English 101 so that they're getting those completed, those requirements completed while they're in high school. So our goal is that once they come out of a program in Washoe County School District, they can complete an associate's degree in a year or at most 18 months, right? So that they get that in their hand, because we don't know what's going to happen in our community. We don't have any idea. And the job demand is so high, right, that kids don't have to go on to a 4-year college if they don't want to. But we want them to leave with that degree in their hand because we believe it opens doors for them later on. If they want to go back for a 4-year degree later, if their employer requires that, great. But they leave with technical skills, industry certifications, and an associate's degree. So that's really our push. And why we feel like our relationship with Truckee Meadows Community College is absolutely vital to the success of this community. So that's kind of where we are right now. We have lots of things coming up, but it's our first week of school, so we're really just trying to make sure that biscuits are in seats, as Deputy Superintendent McNeil would say. Biscuits are in the seats, and we've got good counts, and we've got everybody in the right place, and we've got teachers. We're still missing a few, if you know anyone that would like to teach diesel. So that's kind of where we are, and I would agree with Susan that it's a very personal thing for me. As my child, I just had one graduate from a business program, and we have worked hard on those dual credit courses that she can then take with her to her next opportunity, and to get that endorsement that says I'm ready to go and I have college credits and somebody believes that I'm of value in a college setting. So big deal.
Thank you, Dana. I have one quick question for you. At some point, can you let us know, where are we on the Dream It, Do It website?
That's a great question.
Oh.
I don't have a good answer. I don't have a good answer. We are moving forward on it. We're renewing that, and then we are moving forward on that. Hopefully we'll get some actual production done this year, because now I have a full staff, so I'm pretty excited about actually having people that can
This is a website, I've seen pieces of it over the years, that is absolutely, when it gets up there, it's going to be fantastic for all of us to learn, but for students and for faculty. It literally lays you out the pathway. You want to be this when you grow up. Here's the courses you take. Here's the institutions you take them at. It's fantastic, and so a family can go through and sit and look at different career, opportunities. It just is a wonderful
And
tool.
Washoe County School District is already using that website as the career exploration tool, because when a student goes in and says, this is what I'm good at, and they take a 3-part survey, and it kind of says, here's the things that might be good for you. It attaches them to current job information about what's out there, what the salary is for that, right? So that kid who says, well, I just want to have a big house and a big car. Oh, well, probably this is not the job for you. You might want to look at this one, and what's the education that goes with that. But the benefit of that particular tool over other tools that we've used in the past is that it's a student's own account, and so they can take it with them until they die if they want, right? As long as that website is up, they can continue to add to that account. They can continue to see what's there and explore. So it isn't a kind of a one-shot, you were in middle school and you used career cruising and that's what you had. This belongs to them. They continue to access that on their own throughout the course of their lives if it's still sitting there, which we hope it is.
Thank you.
Did that help?
Yes, thank you
See,
very
I didn't
much.
really know what you wanted.
John.
Good morning, John Thurman with Nevada Works, and just briefly, we are the local workforce development board for the 13 counties in northern Nevada. We oversee, out of the Department of Labor's funding, Title I-B dollars that go to adult dislocated worker and youth services. But more importantly, we are also charged with the responsibility of developing the one-stop system, which in the simplest terms means no wrong door. So if you touch the system any place, the information that should be available to you and the services available to you are across that system. Now, you may be referred on to somebody, but at least everybody in the system knows what everybody else does. You're working collectively to provide the best services possible for the individual and or the employer. So how does TMCC play into that? It's not just TMCC for us, it's also Western Nevada College and Great Basin College and UNR are huge players in providing educational and career skills training opportunities for those individuals. So it's everything that we do really centers around driving, clients to TMCC for educational opportunities, skills enhancement, and so on and so forth, so that we do have that prepared workforce for the area.
Thank you very much. John.
John Madole, prior to my retirement, I worked for the Associated General Contractors, which is principally commercial builders and public works. And we were involved at the high school level, say with ACE High School, which does a great job, at the engineering college with the university, but in talking to Regent Del Carlos a while back, she pointed out there was sort of a gap in the middle. And the truth was, we probably didn't realize what was available through TMCC and didn't promote it much. But the objective here is we've begun the process of working, contacted Mike Holmes, and the long-range plan is for me to probably recruit a younger person that's more actively involved now in the industry and make sure we're represented and participating in what goes on. And I'm amazed. I've learned a lot myself just in the 2 meetings I've come to, that TMCC offers a lot that I'm embarrassed to say we did not make people aware of.
But now you're making them very aware of it. Thank you. Mike.
Mike Kaspersky, EDON. I'm going to let Nancy get into the details of what EDON does because it's mostly what she does and her team. I'll tell you that you have probably been aware of the drum beating over the last 2.5 to 3 years on the importance of community colleges, the importance of training, certificates, and a pathway to jobs as opposed to a pathway to a piece of paper. And the community college system has been so important filling that need. And that drum has, I would think, to some degree helped in stemming the cuts that have been happening to the community college over the past decade. You notice a continual decline in funding up until recently, and at the same time, people fail to appreciate that most of the workers we bring to this region do not need a 4-year degree. And we have plenty of institutions in the area, several in Sacramento and certainly here in the state, that provide that level of education. We haven't fully funded and I don't think fully appreciate all the great work that's done by the community college system. So I'll continue to beat that drum. It's incredibly important. It's really the most important piece of the higher education system to the companies we deal with now. And yes, they like their engineers. And yes, I mean, all of that is really great. We got UNR is first class in a lot of ways and it has been a huge catalyst for the region. But when companies come, they want to know, how do I get a worker in a job now or in 6 months or relatively quickly, and not, the relationship with UNR are oftentimes based on research and other things and not necessarily on that talent that's needed to fill the positions fairly quickly. So I'll continue to beat that drum. I can tell you that this institution is, in our view, from the kinds of companies we're bringing to the region, the most important one to fund, and I've said that many times, and some people don't like that. So I'll leave the details to Nancy.
Marissa.
My name is Marisa Brown. I'm with the Nevada Hospital Association, and we are a member trade organization, and we advocate for hospitals in the state. So we represent about 98% of all the hospitals in the state of Nevada. I'm a nurse by trade, and fortunately for us, we were funded through Nevada Works funding to look at the certificate programs for allied healthcare as well as for new graduate nurses. So we really advocate for TMCC a lot with that program. We go and speak at the nursing schools about their nursing program, and anytime I can advocate for TMCC, I will. There's a lot of positions within hospitals that are certificate-based, and so we feel TMCC is really important to the community, and there's a lot of deficits in healthcare that we need to fill, a lot of gaps in those careers. So I've been on the committee, the IAC, since its inception, and I'm very happy to be here. So anything I can do to help you with regards to healthcare, or if you need understanding, or I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And also, I asked, Marissa gave a very interesting presentation at our last meeting on the gap in the behavioral. And she kindly wrote it up for me, and I gave everybody a copy.
Great.
So I wanted everyone to have that, because that was sort of fills in something that Karin asked me the other day, to look at new possible programs for the college that we looking forward, that we've kind of advised a lot on what's here, but what in the future should they be looking at and starting to work on. So we really appreciate that. Thank you.
And what Colley's talking about is with our grant funding for through Nevada Works, there's a lot of gaps in behavioral health in the community with healthcare, and so we've developed and partnered with someone to do an 8-hour, one-day program as a transition into practice program for those nurses that are interested in behavioral health. We have a new freestanding psych facility that's going to be opening here in the community that's going to have 120 beds, and St. Mary's has added a behavioral health unit. So that's a gap and a large need in the community that we have here. So.
It's a huge opportunity. If you look at the numbers, it's kind of scary, but 4 of us at the table have mental illness on average.
Is that sort of like if you
I want to identify those 4, Mike.
I may volunteer for that. It shows you how significant the need is. So,
yeah. Can we sue him for a comment?
And I think it would be maybe at our next meeting, we get some reports from some of the health careers folks as part of the main presentation. I think the time would be good. So.
Thank you, Marissa. Nancy.
Thank you. So we are regularly going out and visiting companies. We're making 140 company visits every year to primary companies. And of course, during those visits, we're always promoting TMCC internship programs, logistics, applied technology. So we're doing those things on a regular basis. But a couple of things that we've done in addition to that over the last month, we have put these new Nevada posters into buses. There's over 30 RTC buses that now have them. And the tagline on those is 52,400 new jobs. One has your name on it. And then there's a number of different resources in the community, including some of the other Nevada Works funded, WIOA funded service providers, as well as TMCC. So the idea is to really help people that cannot see the pathway from where they might be, which may be without even a high school diploma or equivalency, where they might be and how they could get to one of the many jobs that are available in the community. So it's just one more outreach piece to reach a population that might not be seeing some of the promotion that's going on in other places, and promoting the ability to really start at any place and move up and prepare yourself to be able to be employed. The next thing that we're doing on August 15th is that we are having about 50 or so manufacturers come to a luncheon that EDON is putting on. The purpose of that luncheon is to recruit and promote the the apprenticeship program for the industrial mechanics. There are a lot of people that need trained industrial mechanics. They typically only need 1 or 2 of them, but there are more than 50 companies that need a couple of these. And so we really want to drive enrollment into that, because it is another need in addition to production technicians that exists out there, and do a one-on-one presentation where Cheryl from TMCC is going to be making a presentation. In that same group, we're going to bring in Barbara Walden, and Barbara will be there to talk to the manufacturers about how they can support and take advantage of the A production technician program. The P3 production technician program is geared toward Panasonic and Hamilton Company today, which are the two entities that got the grant from OWIN, but there is also a need for other companies to be thinking about participation and perhaps joining together to see if they can maybe get some grant funding or otherwise to bring some students in and augment the program for the production techs. So we're on an ongoing basis being advocates for TMCC because of the criticality of being able to get people into these training programs. And I really liked the TMCC tagline of get in, get out, get a job. And with the fast pace of what's going on and the volume of what's happening, it is something that really is applicable right now in this environment.
Thank you. Omar, just a quick
Sure.
intro. And
Good morning, Emma Davey with JMC North America. I want to thank you for welcoming me to the TMCC IAC so warmly. I saw that my background has been shared already with you via email, so I'm not going to get into the details and bore you with that. I know some of you. I know some of you already, but today it's very nice and exciting to meet the rest of this wonderful team. I look forward to many great conversations. I thank you for the vote of confidence and for this opportunity to serve. I'm particularly excited to serve alongside Nancy McCormick. I think we're going to have a lot of fun and get some great initiatives going and some great work done. In preparation for this meeting, I don't know if I'm supposed to be surprised or touched that this wonderful team actually wants to put up with my terrible accent for the next 2 years and my lousy German sense of humor. So thanks again, and I look forward to the next 2 years.
thank you very much. Very quickly, I will, you've probably heard plenty from me. I just want to report that, first of all, Collie Hutter, Chairman, moving on, don't have to actually work, of ClickBond Incorporated. The kids are running it, and go for it. But one of the things that I did want to mention is that as part of all the certification programs and everything that, and one of the things that I know a lot of the companies in the area, whether industrial or not, we've always required a high school diploma. We are starting to move on a little bit that. I think, Mike, you brought up at one point there were 40,000 or whatever people in the area with experience or looking for jobs in industry, and we have moved to the NCRC. We will accept if they take the NCRC, and we will have a test center in our facility in 2 weeks, and so that we will be accepting a silver level on the NCRC in lieu of a high school diploma. We will certainly encourage them to go back and get a GED and to continue on at one of the community colleges. But I just wanted to say that was something that we, having been involved with the certification programs and through the community colleges, have made the decision that we want to get these folks working. And rather than require, if you've had 12 years experience machining, I think we want to be able to bring these people in. So I just wanted to bring that up, and we hope other companies will start looking in that direction. Since our last meeting, I've been to the community college committee meeting and 2 of the chairs meetings, the meeting of the 4 chairs of the IACs, and a meeting with the leadership of the regents. The CCC meeting, actually we presented, Karin and I presented, it was our time to talk about TMCC, and Karin did a fabulous presentation, and they were all very impressed that we are the college. I mean, absolutely, we are the college. So that was great. Elmar will have the opportunity in September to, on behalf of TMCC, to speak to the Board of Regents. And I shared with him my speeches from the last 2 years, so he can know how to improve over those. And the one thing, and I mentioned that Karin mentioned the other day, and this I just want to make sure that we start thinking as we look at our industries to really think about new opportunities, new courses. I think the one that's cybersecurity, and as a company that's going through everybody who is involved in any kind of work with the federal government, there's a new NIST cybersecurity requirement, and we are going to be looking for people who understand those things. So that would be a great one. And other things I was looking at is in the HR area, getting HR trained people who are very good with computers, because it's all done online now. So we need that area. So I'm just tossing those out. And Sean.
Well, and I think everyone knows my background. You know, I grew up in gaming and hospitality, and most recently, I've had conversations with Dr. Marie and soon with Karin about the EATS program and this associate degree that you're looking at in hospitality and tourism. And I'm actually very excited about it because, you know, for the 30 years that I was at the Nugget, we were constantly looking for employees, and for whatever reason, we didn't really look at TMCC either, and I'm not sure why. So I'm really looking forward to this exchange and to really, hopefully, identifying people in the industry who can really knock it out of the park and do some exciting and creative things with this program. Culinary is creative. And I just think there's a real opportunity for the community college, but certainly for the industry. And I look at Dana because we had a luncheon in May, and I know my brother sat with one of your students from the culinary program, and they were so impressed and ready to take the young man under their wing. But I don't think they were aware of the culinary program at AACT. So to the extent that we can build a really robust exchange, that's my job, hopefully, with your effort. I can help identify people who will make your program even better.
Great.
So,
Thank you. Thank you. Brad.
Can I go?
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Yes, John.
Don't slight John.
sorry.
No, I don't. I'm not a member of the committee, but I've been to all your meetings. My name's John Albrecht. I'm the general counsel. I want to thank Kali and all of you for sticking with the agendas over the years. That's
life easy.
my exclusive job, sitting here at the table with you, and I cannot tell you how nice it is and how much I appreciate you following the agenda. I review the agenda before the meeting. If anyone wants to put something on the agenda, they can contact the chair or the president's office. But once it's issued, it's done. We can fix things later, like if you want to have we can have special meetings, we can do all sorts of things, but we can't change what's in front of you. So that's my primary job. Now, as my other hat I'm going to put on for a moment and tell you how I promote the college. I am a Rotarian. I'm the president of the Reno Sunrise Rotary Club, and this year my club and the Rotary Club of Reno Central has paid for 2,500 spiral notebooks that will go out to K through 6 children in 4 elementary schools. Every child gets one, because the idea is not that I have my notebook and I think TMCC is cool. It has the wizard on the cover. It has Let's Go to College as our theme. It has the TMCC name and website address. And what we do a little rah-rah pep rally at 4 different elementary schools. Every child gets a notebook and 2 TMCC branded pencils. The wizard is there. The tall guy with the lizard, the lizard is there. And I'm going to invite all of you this year. Our first event is August 30th at Virginia Palmer Elementary School. The 4 schools all serve low-income neighborhoods, which would be our population focus. And we're trying to build interest in the college from K through 6. One 6th grade teacher at one of the schools uses the notebook as a journal. The children use the notebook as a journal throughout the year. They see each other's notebooks, and the idea is that we're trying to say, go to college. That's where you should end up in, not 10th grade, not a high school diploma, but some sort of degree. The two clubs have put in basically $7,600 to cover everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, John. And thank you for noticing that we actually followed the agenda. We try.
So as a member of Reno Central Rotary, just what he said, I'm doing the same thing. No, I'm just joking. But I am a member, I'm past president. Brad Woodring, newly of a new company in town, Reliant Title Insurance Company. I was formerly with another title company, and before that with Nevada, NV Energy. Worked in the realm of economic development with the likes of Mike and Nancy and their staff in the state for 10 years prior to that. And so my mantra always was, without an educated workforce, I didn't have a job. Very simple as that. And in all, with the likes of Mike and other economic development groups around the state, that were very successful in attracting new companies, new types of industries, we had to start standing up things. And thank God for the TMCC, because we did not have, I don't even think half the number of curriculums that we have now when I started with this, actually with the foundation board a dozen years ago or so. We were a very small college, but we've really risen to the stage. I want to echo what John Madola was talking about. Now that I'm back in the title insurance business, my forte was in development. And we're seeing, now I'm talking to a lot of the builders out there, and they're having a lot of trouble right now finding the craftsmen, and not just workers, not just guys slinging hammers, building framing and whatnot. It's across the board in building trades. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm getting involved with the Builders Association and hoping to bring them to the table, along to TMCC, to bring what their needs are. Of course, we're in the mecca of building trades right here. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. Thanks.
Chris Bender, Bender Logistics. We got the Comm Center up and running. We've been able to fund a advertising campaign for the logistics program. I believe it's going well. I think we've run its course at this point, so now it's statistics time to see how it's turned out. And I think we'll be able to do that again on each semester. I think that will be the ultimate plan. I know that as the logistics program continues and it builds, we'll start working on the internship component of it. We realize that there are a number of issues with that, simply the fact that a lot of the people in the logistics program currently have a job. And so it's a little hard for them to spend time in an intern type scenario. But in some ways they're doing an intern program in the business that they're in. So we're kind of pushing back down that path a little bit. Other than that, I think things are going well for that piece of what I'm involved in. The other thing we started doing, we had a statistical report that came through a few months ago that was full of a lot of holes. And so we kind of tasked ourselves to go back in and try and dig through that. And we found some additional information. I had somebody doing the work on that who got a little sick, so we kind of got sidetracked on that. But hopefully at the next meeting we'll be able to bring that to the table. It's pretty fascinating, the changes that I think we're going to see, being that it used to be almost exclusively the, not gaming per se, but the tourist industry. And I think Reno is no longer that. I think we've moved away from that in a pretty healthy way. I was talking to an electrician here a couple of nights ago, and the amount of growth that's going on within the community from the standpoint of building and new ventures that are coming to the table is scary in a lot of ways. I mean, kind of like in 1977 when they were sending limos out to pick up the maids to clean the hotels. We're at a point where we need a lot of people, And we don't have the housing for it, we don't have the infrastructure, the school structure is going to get overloaded. You know, it's going to impact in a lot of ways, and I think we need to be very cognizant of that as we get deeper into what education is. I know that if Google were to, well, it's probably nothing but a rumor, but the threat of them moving their headquarters from San Francisco to here is real or not. But if they were to do something like that and bring everybody up here, I mean, that's, you know, 10,000 new families all of a sudden that arrive in Reno. There's no housing, there's nowhere to be. I mean, it just gets really ugly. So I think we have to be very careful about growth. We have to be somewhere legislatively aware that money needs to be spent, and that's going to be Elmar's job, you know, from the standpoint of trying to get our legislative structure to understand it. We can't ignore this. And if we do, it'll be at our own fault. So anyway, CLUM's doing well. Good name for it.
Thank you, Chris. Cheryl.
Cheryl Cardoza, Faculty Senate Chair of TMCC. I'm also Chair of the English Department, so I'm going to talk about both of my hats a little bit because they matter in terms of what we're doing. The faculty are gone right now, but the Faculty Senate Chairs have been working very diligently. We've been serving on search committees. We were on Nate McKinnon's search committee. We were on the Chancellor's search committee. We're meeting with the Chancellor today, the new Chancellor, and we're looking forward to it. It should be very interesting. He seems like he's very much going to put community colleges back on the map. He at least keeps saying so, and we're going to hold him to it. Nate's role as Vice Chancellor of Community Colleges is exciting to us as Faculty Senate Chairs because it does give us a better voice at the system office. So we're looking forward to some more work at the system office that will help to make TMCC bigger and better and get more resources, because Karin's right. There are times when we get skipped when it comes to resources, especially for those capital funding things. As we know from our HVAC going out in 2 buildings and having to scatter around to figure out what's going on. So there's that. On the English department side, I work with the dual enrollment classes, and I work with AACT and offer them classes, and so we're trying very hard in the English department to make sure that gateway classes are available, that we've got dual enrollment projects going on in as many high schools as possible. We're in Galena, DeMonte, we've got AACT, we're working on Sparks and Spanish Springs. So we've got lots of projects going on. We're very excited about the work that Susan May Smith is doing in the dual enrollment area, because we think this is a place of growth that is important. And I agree with Dana that one of the things that we really want to see is that these students finish their high school with also a 2-year degree. If they can do that, and we've had lots of students do that, it really gives them a leg up on other people in the community as we go. So I'm more interested in the transfer programs and the workforce development programs. I do work with the workforce development programs. I'm the one who teaches the English 107 for the post certificates, and so I'm involved in both of those aspects. But we really want to keep reminding the IAC that the transfer mission is very important to this institution, that 60% of our students do transfer and go on for higher education degrees, while at the same time saying we got to train those workers, because so it's one of those things that makes this a vibrant and exciting place to be. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Cheryl Warr, and I represent Nevada Faculty Alliance. I'm faculty in the counseling department. I've been at TMCC off and on for 32 years in a number of capacities. And it's kind of funny because I've just found myself going completely circular. I started in '85 when TMCC had only 6,000 students. I've seen the college transition quite a bit. I believe we used to work better with industry than we have in the past 10 years or so. And so it's kind of exciting to see us getting back and following what the community's doing and really truly being a community college. I've worked with international students in creating our first international program. And now I'm finding myself, and thanks to you, Nancy, I'm the representative at TMCC for the Refugee Resettlement Program with the Northern Nevada International Center. So Nancy connected me with Valerie Cotta in Edon, and we've been looking at areas that refugees could help work with the need that you all have. And in addition to that, I said I've gone full circle. I'm back working with the Educational Partnership Program, which we're now focusing on students with limited English, single parents or pregnant women, non-traditional students, displaced homemakers that are referred from another department at the college, and non-traditional careers, women that are looking at non-traditional careers. So we're really focusing on that and matching women up, mainly women. There will be some single parent men to match up with what you all are doing in the community. So that's exciting to us as well, and to be involved in that again. So thank you so much, Nancy, for your connections. And Herr Dave, willkommen a Reno. And I will understand your accent.
Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Kimberly Tran. I am the Student Government Association President. I'm also the Nevada Student Alliance Vice Chair. Some information about me: I am also a research intern at DRI, and I am a TMCC high school student. So I will be graduating with my associates and my high school diploma this upcoming spring. Some information about the Student Government Association: we are here to represent the students. We serve a student voice, and we try to support them and really make their college experience the best it can be.
Thank you very much, and I applaud your getting through and being a high school student, and we're very interested in what you have to say and share with us, and thank you for being with us. All right, well, this is very good. Now you know who everybody is.
Thank you
You've
so
got
much.
it all dialed in, and thank you everybody for sharing. I think it's good to refresh for each of us what we're all doing and why we're doing it. And so now we'll move on to an update on the Veterans Resource Center regarding job placements and discussion of possible action on IAC supportive veteran job placement. And here is Zachary. And here is Zachary.
How you doing?
Very good.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Zach Totens. I'm the Veterans Coordinator at TMCC. Thank you for inviting me back. I appreciate that. This is much less a presentation as it is more of an update, just kind of on our employment initiatives at TMCC. You guys should each have a paper like this, just about 5 bullet points on it. It's short, but we do quite a bit at the college here. And first want to bring up, we are extremely lucky to be at TMCC. We have a great career center on site at the Indian campus. We work very closely with them. Specifically, Ms. Kelly Wong. We worked together to develop a bunch of professional development workshops for veterans, specifically resumes, LinkedIn, business cards, mock interviews, things like that. We also bring in outside resources like the Reno Vet Center for transition workshops, and then we also work with Nevada Job Connect for federal resumes and things like that, because those can get kind of difficult down the road to figure out how to navigate through those things. So we bring those people in all the time. We roughly have around 10 professional development workshops each semester. Summer kind of slows down because the population is a little lower, but for fall and spring we have about 10 of those each semester. Veteran Resource and Job Fair, we do one in the fall, one in the spring. These are excellent. Sheriff's Office is there every time we do it. Tesla, Wells Fargo, the list goes on and on. We get roughly 50 vendors. The event is completely free for all vendors, all veterans that show up. It's open to all vets and their spouses, not just students. And we love doing these things. We get great turnouts. We're going to continue to do those in the future. As far as I know, I believe we're the only college in the north that does it at least this frequently. So we're very proud of that. The next one we have is November 17th. I can get some flyers over to Lisa if we can email those out if you guys are interested. I have some hard copies too I'll hand out before I leave here today too as well. Nevada Job Connect, they actually come to the VRC and Dandini twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays to meet one-on-one with students to kind of go over openings, to understand what the students are studying, to kind of see if there's any kind of, it's usually part-time work, especially the students going 12 to 15 credits. To do that plus 40 hours gets a little crazy, so we try to tell them, studies are, should be number one in their priority, at least for us. So we try to tell them to kind of make sure they have enough time, good time management to be able to focus on all that stuff at once. And then we have a veteran job board on site. It's updated daily. I get emails from various resources throughout the community, and then we update them as long as it's valid for job fairs or anything like that that's going on. So a veteran can come in on their own time, look at it if they're interested, follow the directions, and then apply accordingly. And then the last part is placement tracking. We don't really do that at TMCC yet, at least in the veteran services. Our main focus 100% of the time is to get the veterans to transition from the military to the academic and professional environment. We just want them to be successful, whatever that is, whether they're going to continue on to college or if they're going to get a job right afterwards. We just want to help prepare them for whatever's after they leave us. So that's kind of why we do a lot of professional development and stuff like that, to kind of get them ready, get those resumes good, get an idea of what's out there when they do graduate, what kind of job they can get. So that's basically it for that. And I'm here to take any questions or clarification or anything like that.
Questions? Anyone? Because I know it's something we've... Nancy.
Nancy McCormick, Don. Just a quick question of the number of new employers that you're getting to participate in your veteran career fairs. After attending one or two of them, it seemed like you have a really good base of people that come all the time.
Yes.
and are regularly participating. And I'm just wondering what help you might need in getting new companies, an infusion of some of the newer companies that are coming to the region, or some of the existing companies that just aren't taking part, but yet they say they're very much interested in hiring veterans.
Absolutely. We'd be more than welcome to take any references that you may have. We usually have, just off the top of my head, I would say 15 to 20 new ones. We have a lot, like Wells Fargo, the Sheriff's Office, they always return every single one that we have. Tesla's always there. But we do usually get, I'd say 10 to 15 off the top of my head every time.
Okay.
It's pretty good changeover. We actually, the last one we had last spring, we actually had a company come from Michigan. I can't remember the name of the company at the moment, but it was something to do with like auto manufacturing. It was really cool. They came all the way out here to do the job fair, so we were very happy about that. We'd be more than happy to have any new ones.
We might be able to help with that.
Absolutely. We'd love that. Thank you.
I have one quick question. Maybe you don't have the answer today, but the last time I think you presented, we were talking about the GI Bill and certain block. In other words, it was not as flexible, perhaps, as we would like it to be, so that they could take advantage of some of the tech programs.
Yes.
And is that still, because I've heard of some community colleges that seem to have gotten around that, and I was just wondering if it had improved.
Yes, that is a very complicated question, or at least there's a very complicated answer for that question. But yeah, so the way the VA works is that you need to have a solid start and stop time, so that it needs to start on this date and end on this date. There can't be any variation from that. So basically, if students are allowed to enroll like halfway into the semester, and a veteran couldn't. So you can have it to where it's dynamically dated. I think that's what we have listed as DYN classes. So there is a start and stop date, and a veteran could enroll in that start and stop date. But another student who may have certain skills that they don't necessarily need to retake in that class, if they can start 2-3 weeks after the semester started, the veteran cannot do that. So we're kind of treating student veterans differently than we are standard students in that particular class, and the VA will not allow that, so we cannot certify that class for VA educational benefits.
Oh, all right. Yeah.
We can have the class, veterans can take the class, but they cannot use the VA for that. I don't know if that's ever going to change. We've been arguing this for like 2 years. I mean, some of these great Tesla programs and all the stuff that we have going on, I would love to have as many veterans of those as possible. And there is always an option for them, though. So it's not that they're being excluded. It's just not every available option is open.
Use the GI Bill for it.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Zach, how many, this is the first I've actually heard about this particular thing, which is awesome.
Yeah.
How many, at any given time, approximately how many veterans do you have in the program, and what's the median age?
So usually, we have an average of about 670 to 700 veterans enrolled each semester. Not all those are using GI Bill. Those could be retired veterans. It could be National Guard members. We usually have about 450 to 500 that we certify for the GI Bill, and that's every semester. So it's very high. I believe it's 6.6% of our average population. It's pretty high.
And median age?
It's usually, if I had to guess, I'd say 25. It varies, though. We get one, so if it's a National Guard member, you can be 18 in the National Guard. And then, if we have the retirees, can be, 50 on higher.
Absolutely. Thank you.
In bulk or mid-20s.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We look forward to hearing more
I would love
over the
to,
year.
absolutely. And I'll hand those flyers out to Lisa if you guys are interested.
Great. Thank you so much. And thank you for everything you're doing. That's great. And we are on agenda item 9. overview of TMCC career and technical education programs, Dr. Kyle Dalpy. And after this, we will roll on to the end, and then if anybody would like a tour of this beautiful facility, it will be available to you.
Good. Thank you. Good morning. Kyle Dalpy, Interim Dean of Technical Sciences. I want to thank Zach for handling that question on the Veterans Benefit and the production lab classes that we have behind us, because that has been one of the hurdles to get our programs moving in a different direction. I'm going to go through some of the programs. Can you hear me if I'm not behind the mic?
Sure.
I'll do this theater in the round. I put up some degrees to try to, I'll show you in a minute.
Kyle,
Yeah.
are you being recorded when you walk around?
It's working. It's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can do the mic.
No, I don't care. As long as you're being recorded.
Good, as long as you're picking me up. Okay, so we're going to go over some of the degrees and programs. What's interesting is the last time I spoke with the group, I'm always up at Dandini campus, and here it's actually kind of fun because I can point and I can say welding, machining. What we have behind us here is everything that leads to Panasonic and Tesla. We have HVAC over in the corner. UAS is up there. I won't fly the drone today because I crash mine camping this weekend. We have, if you noticed, unfortunately, the back row here, if you heard the noise behind you, we had the high school kids coming in to go to their diesel class down the hall. That was Ace Charter High School. They're housed upstairs along with TMCC High School in the hallway over here. So at the end, a lot of you have seen this building. If you want to take a tour, we can do a tour, but call me and we do so many tours, we can fit you in somewhere. So real quick on the CTE enhancement funding that Dr. Hilgerson mentioned, these are the 4 areas that are the additional funding under the funding formula: construction, mechanic, repair tech, precision, production, and transportation. And I noted this back when we did a legislative update back in February. These all went through. It essentially means we are getting 4 times the base funding for these programs which exist in this building. There is a little bit of a spillover into logistics depending on when you map them out. That's housed down at Meadowwood, but most of them are in this building. It'll help us sustain these programs that are very high cost and have been built under federal grants. One other thing to mention, which I don't remember if it's come up yet or not, that we worked on this past session was the Nevada Promise Scholarship. And we're trying to really encourage the high school students. The first class will be the class of 18 to come into college programs to get some training, as was mentioned earlier and much of the discussion, what is going to be needed in this state and across the country in the next years is more than high school but less than a 4-year degree. Those are 50% plus of the jobs, and that's everything we do at the community college. And so if we can capture in particular Washoe County the 25% that go straight to work and say, let's train and get you into one of the jobs that'll sustain you through going into the future, that'd be great. And so we're pretty thrilled with the Promise Scholarship, and I won't dive into that because it's not part of this presentation. So the clusters that we have here are construction and design technologies, which and there's degrees, skills, certificates. We also have started offering in this space right here what they call the MC3 multi-craft core curriculum as part of a pilot with the Children's Cabinet, and that will be expanded. And they actually do the construction trades right here. It's a good working space. That was a limited project in last semester, and it'll continue going into next year. But we do offer skills certificates, degrees, and that sort of thing going into construction trades and architectural design. We are looking at expanding to more of a, we have a management program. We want to do more like the MC3 where we're teaching how to actually do and build more so than we have in the past. Under construction technologies, and we're looking, this is different than the previous one, but we need to work on the titling a little bit not to cause confusion. This primarily houses the heating, ventilation, air conditioning, cooling, and refrigeration. And that's over here around the corner upstairs, 2 floors. We have skill certificates, and again, for this group, skill certificates are less than 30 credits. Certificate of Achievement's 30 credits or a few more, and degrees are 60 credits. They all stack one on the other. One of the emerging employers is Switch, which everyone's heard about. This is one of their cooling units down in Vegas. But we're looking at building, they call it the critical systems degree pathway that would meet the need of these types of environment, which are data storage. And we're building it, looking at what CSN has done down the south because their campus is down there. I don't know how many of you have been to a Switch facility. They have a very large campus with multiple buildings down in Vegas. They have 1 building in Reno. I automatically sort of assume that Reno might be a little bit smaller because it's smaller, but they're planning on ramping this one up out at the Trick larger than the Vegas one. So there's going to be capacity. The numbers at Switch are not thousands like Panasonic or Tesla, but it will be in the hundreds. So that's an emerging, critical systems is an emerging field, but the HVAC is already pretty much up and running right now. Energy technologies, geothermal, solar, and wind. This is one that if you've read the solar headlines recently, it's kind of probably not as conducive to jobs. It's one of those that enrollment is sort of there in the solar, but the wind and the geothermal have not gone where we've hoped. But we keep the program there because it's an emerging sector. It's part of the governor's one of his objectives, so we keep it there. But again, we've crossed. Our faculty are teaching in HVAC and energies, or UAH and energies. We do not have a dedicated faculty member for this right now, and we'll look at that as we move forward. Manufacturing, this is the one we're going to go 3 slides on this because there's so many different options with this. Manufacturing technology includes machining, which is behind you over here. That's where you'll find the CNC machines, the lathing machines. Advanced manufacturing lab here, which includes the robots, and the advanced manufacturing lab here that includes the circuitry, welding, which is in the back corner over there. Several degree and certificate options. As this tends to expand, more and more employers come forward and say, hey, could you do this? And we'll repackage it one way or another. We do have food processing technology in there. That's one we really need to spend some time with. Hopefully the new initiatives will drive more students into that. But the big ones are the production systems, advanced manufacturing, automation, and robotics. And that's, again, everything that leads to Tesla and Panasonic. This is one of our FANUC robots. You'll see those if you tour the lab over here. But the skill certificates, like I said, is under 30 credits, multiple options there from welding to machining. You can see it along this list over here. But the other one that we have to talk about is the P3, and now we're calling it the T3 program, Panasonic and Tesla programs. This Panasonic Preferred Pathway program is one that we created in January to response to Panasonic. And for those of you who don't know, I think I've mentioned it, but Panasonic came to us in December of last year and said, we need 2,400 trained workers by December of 2017. And we had a conversation with them because we had 110 people in the pipeline. And there's a numbers game there with the unemployment being so low. And with the emerging economy, it's kind of an anomaly. Usually community college enrollments go down when the economy is robust because everybody's working. So now we find ourselves in this, everybody's working, the economy's robust, and there's still all these jobs to fill. They've actually used this space with those tables to actually hold hiring events here for the last 4 weeks. In one day, they hired 90 people out of our center. They rented the space, they held multiple tables where they interviewed people. About 200 a week, 800 to 1,000 people they've hired in the last 6 weeks, right out of here, which is a really good partnership because when they come in here and say, you know, you're great for the program, but you need the training, you can send them right over there and sign them up. And that's why our numbers this summer have boomed. We've got about 135 students involved in the advanced manufacturing program this summer. Last year we had about 20. Last year we had construction going on, we were still building the program, but the numbers are just huge. And looking at going into fall, we're going to be pretty much at capacity. One of the, real quick, this, if you don't know what this is, it could be 10 different things, but these are actually the batteries that are going into the Tesla vehicles that Panasonic is making. So we're doing credit and non-credit training for Panasonic. One of the interesting things though is I showed you skills certificates, degrees, and regular certificates, but Panasonic only wanted 10 credits for their M1 and M2. That's the skill level they need. They can come back for the certificate for advanced up to the M3, M4 level, but that's what they need. And we went to the governor's office and awarded scholarships to help these students get through. The Hamilton company across the street said, hey, what about us? We added them onto it, and as was mentioned earlier, several of the other employers have come forward, ClickBond and such, and have said, can you build a program for us? The good news is the skill set is fairly compatible across the businesses. So if they go through the Panasonic program, they could leap to another employer. And actually, that's kind of what's happening. Everybody's stealing everybody else's employees, as most of you know, right? We're at a shortage, so whoever throws $1 or $2 more, you don't have to drive to the industrial complex. All of a sudden, you've got a workforce, right? And the students are benefiting. So jumping out of production, transportation technologies, automotive diesel, and we throw unmanned aerial systems in there, degree certificates as well. The auto and diesel are down the hallway here. You can walk through there. We have diesel trucks we pull right into the lab. An auto area over there with 12 bays to lift cars up, do all kinds of things. It's really handy if you're the dean and you blow a tire, you can have it fixed real quickly. The only thing you have to watch out for is the instructor says, you shouldn't have driven on it, but is it okay if I take your tire and use it as an example of what not to do? I'm like, no, I've got the lifetime warranty. I need to take it back to Costco, right? So these students are getting hired. A lot of what we find in our programs too, as far as degree completion, is they'll get hired 2 semesters in. They won't finish the program. They'll just take the credits, get a job, and go. And we want to try to get the employers to incentivize bringing them back. Apprenticeships, so there's 2 different types of apprenticeships we'll talk about. There's apprenticeships that we coordinate with the union, which are now everything's going under the OWIN office, Workforce Innovations. But we do work with the local unions to offer a certificate and degree program for apprenticeships. So if a student is out with the iron workers and they do a certain level of credit, we sign off on the educational program, the instructor, we can award credit. The student can end with a job with the unions and then a degree with us as well, and then can move on. The apprenticeship project, which is something funded through the U.S. Department of Labor, $3 million over 5 years. Some of you know Cheryl Olson. Cheryl, wave your hand in the back. Okay, good. If you are a business and you want to retrain your workers and send them back for training, please talk to Cheryl, because we can accommodate that through the apprenticeship project, to where some, or actually most of the expense to have somebody come back and train will be covered. So it's a way to upskill your current workforce. One of the problems that we've had is we've had manufacturing, in particular manufacturers, come in and say, I have 2 positions. I have a 1 and a 2. The 2 left. I want the 1 to be trained for the 2. And then I want you to backfill the 1. Awesome, we do that all day. Except, I can't afford to have that 1 off the production line. So then we say, okay, we're going to have to work on some hours and some things. And some of the things we've put into place for all of our programs is the open entry dynamically dated classes, which is something Zach answered on that question, because it doesn't always jive with the federal funding, but it does give the students flexibility to come in at their own time, which could include Saturdays and would include Sundays if we're at capacity and want to ramp up a Sunday schedule. Some of our logos of we feel linked to almost all kinds of businesses, if not all of them, through EDAWN, through some of the groups. We continually stay in touch. If somebody needs something, they'll come and talk to us. And we're thrilled to respond as best we can. Of course, we ask employers, we really need to know what you need. And then the next step we're having is, what if we have a student who does our program, what does that mean for the student? If they do the Panasonic P3 program, that'll put them in as an M1, M2, $14 to $17 an hour. If we have them come back and do the certificate, does that give them a bump up to an M3? If so, that's our selling point, and we nail that with the students, and we can start offering that training package. So that kind of discussion happens with employers all the time. So that's it. So with that, I can answer any questions. And again, afterward, if you want to talk or take a tour, let me know. If you can't make it today, just contact me. Thank you.
Just quickly, you mentioned that you were close to capacity. And how many is that when you hit capacity?
So it depends on the program.
Okay.
So in the labs here, the open entry programs, we could probably handle about 250 students. One of the liabilities is there's two pieces that are hurting us, believe it or not, after we just renovated the whole center. We don't have enough parking. Because the other piece that we have to be careful on is the students need to time themselves out. If they all come, because you could start, like the P3 program, you can do it in a month. You could start it now, or you could start in September. If you did it for a 3-week or a 15-week program and everybody came in the week before Thanksgiving, we're going to have 250 people in here at one time. We're not going to be able to manage that. So we're trying to manage the actual class time. But it's about 250 for these 2 labs. Already, I really need to get another instructor. I'm on 2 instructors. I could use another one.
And are you having trouble recruiting people into the programs?
Well, actually, our enrollment is a little bit up. I looked at the numbers when we were doing the enrollment report. We're not a division that has a lot of the FTE of the college. So when we're up, the college will still be down. So we're actually seeing more people than we have in the past. And part of that is the partnership with Panasonic and Tesla. However, they are hiring people without the training and planning on sending them back. So we're hoping we can get them back. One of our biggest groups that we want to go after is the underemployed person, somebody who's working 3 jobs, no benefits. They could be working 1 job, making the same money and getting benefits. But it's hard to make that sell sometimes.
So,
Karen?
I have a question and a statement. So please correct me if I'm wrong, but when a student takes these courses in the summertime, we do not receive state funding at this point in time, correct?
Correct.
And I'm announcing that because it's probable that this becomes one of the top legislative priorities for NSHE never too soon to start planning the legislative priorities, and that is that we really do need to get state funding for summer offerings. Now, it did not stop our efforts because we believe in the workforce conundrum that Nevada now faces, right? And that we believe that we're part of that solution. So we were willing to forego the state funding, but that is not sustainable. So just a heads up that all the NC institutions, but community colleges in particular, need state funding for all summer offerings, ideally funded in the next legislative session. Thank you.
And that would actually help with capacity. Some of you may remember back before Dr. Hilgerson was here and we talked about the projects, you saw the list, we were talking about adding a center because we needed more space. It would be better to utilize it year round, like you said, and just use it in the summer, get funded for it, and just run the cohorts through.
I must admit, that's the first time I heard we were not funded during the summer. I mean,
We are funded for nursing programs and students who have declared nursing or a health nursing major, their science prerequisites, but those are the only two areas that are currently funded in the summer. So it makes it really difficult.
well, I think that's something that we need to
right.
And that has to be
look at.
legislated?
I have one last question because I know this came with Mike. I mean, we've been, and Nancy, we've been talking about the, the pipeline in, that one of our big pushes for that this group focus has been, how do we, with the marketing, how do we get students in? We have all the programs, we have the employers, but without a pipeline in, it's, so is it improving or?
It is definitely improving. Having the Panasonic hiring events here, having Panasonic put our logo on their billboards, which we didn't even really know about until it happened, and we were like, okay, that's okay.
Yeah.
Linking the jobs to it, and even when the other employers, and when I say some of the smaller employers are still hurting for employees, having the big names that are in the papers. I meant to show you the RGJ paper that was here. This is the story that hit the paper, and I have one copy. It has to go back to Kate in marketing, but I'll pass it around. Having this kind of press just helps us overall.
Yeah.
People see the jobs emerging, and again, they're not. If you're making $20 an hour, you're not going to leap back to a 14 to 17 unless you were making 20 on 2 jobs and no benefits. So it's a tricky sell. We're really spending a lot of time with the high school students, trying to get them in through the pathways with the district. Dana and I talk as much as we can get in the. We're right across the street, but it seems like neither one of us is here at the same time. So trying to coordinate with the school district to get a pipeline going in on people. There are some students in Ace Charter High School in machining, full-time high school student, full-time job, because they have the skills and they're out there working. So
Great. Well, thank you, because
I have just one last question to Dr. Hilgerson. Have we analyzed, or do we have numbers specific to what the funding requirements are to provide the summer offerings? Do we know by how much the estimated funding requirements would increase our capacity? And lastly, do we have other efficiencies, or have we analyzed for other inefficiencies or lack of efficiency where we are constrained by our funding situation, where we could actually increase our capacity in addition to the summer offerings?
On the first, I believe it was analyzed a couple of years before my arrival. I'm looking at Elena. As a system-wide, what would happen if how much would it cost for the state to fund our current summer students? And for some reason, it just didn't make the top priorities in NSHE, but I believe that sentiment has changed. And I think there's discussion now about bringing that back as potentially the #1 legislative priority for NSHE. So I'm speaking with uncertainty because I wasn't here, but my understanding is there was a point where that number was the budget calculation was completed. On the second question, yes, we do analyze capacity in an ongoing way. I think it would be nice, though, to hone in on several particular areas and analyze it again and bring that back to this meeting at some point in the future. So,
good questions. See? New blood, good questions.
The other areas of inefficiency, in addition to the summer programs or summer offerings?
I think that's probably the most glaring. One of the things, though, that we're really working toward now is having a goal in our nursing program to double enrollment as soon as we can, and that's meant we're bringing in as many nursing faculty as we can, but it's been difficult because it's just one of those high demand positions, and it's difficult to find good qualified faculty with the industry experience or the hospital experience that we need. But we did manage to successfully hire 4 new nursing faculty, but then 2 retired. So we still are we're aiming for 6 positions. That's what has been approved, so that we can do what we need to do. But I think we still have a ways to go. So it's not an inefficiency, but we have a human resource problem if we are really going to double the capacity, which is what we all aspire to do. So
thank you.
You're welcome.
One note of the efficiency too is that getting students through the summer actually speeds up their road to graduation and out into the workforce faster. That too, so that that would help us here because we could actually, like we're doing right now, but we're bearing the cost of it. That's for our programs.
Carol.
Ask a question.
Yes, certainly.
And I'm not sure if I should bring this up now or at new business, but I have a colleague here who's working with Career Connections, and I believe with Nevada Works. No? Okay, no. To get the Carl Perkins CTE program going. And do we have a minute for Bill to say what he's doing with that program? Because it's related to the CTE and trying to get students, especially the non-traditional students and women, into these kind of programs. Is that okay?
I think
I'd have to ask John if you need to do it under comment or not.
John?
Agenda, John, we have an agenda question. I wonder if Kyle could update us on our own CTE program.
The one moment I don't pay attention.
And then maybe that would be a nice segue, maybe?
Okay.
Because we're coming to the
Okay,
end.
so
We are coming to the end.
we also do house in this area the former Tech Prep, which is the Career and Technical Education program funding. It's students who take classes in the high school that will articulate to college credit and fast track them to a degree program. And for example, across the street, I work with Dana, and the AACT uses our lab, and those students are CTE students. They're not dual credit, they're CTE under what Cheryl was just mentioning, the Perkins funding. And they get money, they earn credit once they matriculate into our programs, but they're that much faster to a degree. And for example, the welding would put them probably 22 credits toward a 30 credit certificate. So the CTE college program, we house it here, they work in the high schools, they make articulation agreements that then the students can get credits when they finally enroll in a community college. So with that, I don't know if it's the guest speaker should come up now or
Say that, I'm sorry, Kyle, you talked too fast for me.
Sorry. Cheryl, go ahead, and if you would explain it.
So my question was, and then it came back to you, because we're working with the CTE Carl Perkins program and trying to get women into non-traditional fields, and because we're talking about this, I have a colleague that wanted to just talk about how he's working with
Why
the
don't we just
community.
put it into public comment? We'll roll out
Yeah,
of
it
this
might
into
just
public
fit into
comment
public
and put
comment.
it there and call it good. Okay.
Good.
Any other questions for Kyle? You know his phone number. You know where to find him. He's here. Thank you. Thank you, Kyle. Moving on, agenda item number 10, new business. New business. Okay. Any thoughts that we could put in now for the next agenda item?
Nevada Promise.
Okay.
With specific attention on mentors. Wow. That's terrible. And health career update. And I'll have to get my head around exactly where we can hone in on, but I think it's time.
Okay, thank you. Any other, you certainly, for agenda items for the next meeting, you may send them to Chair Dave or to Karen's office, Lisa. If you have ideas for the agenda, we can get them in up to 2 weeks before the agenda is posted. So I want everybody to participate. Everybody think of things and get it in there.
Right.
And if there's no more new business, future agenda items this time, we'll move to agenda item 11, public comment. And if
I have one, but Bill, would you like to answer?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I'm Bill Prepstall. I'm with the Counseling Office. In support of the Carl Perkins Grant, we are taking an initiative to deliver more group career counseling workshops as well as one-on-one career counseling for not only TMCC currently enrolled in students, but also potential students from the community who may be interested in taking advantage of our short-term training options as well as our certificate and degree plans. Our goal is to support all of the wonderful programs that you've heard about today. Everybody seems to be on the same page as far as building Nevada's workforce through these shorter-term training options. And hopefully, our intent is to deliver a career counseling modality that will encourage these folks to explore these options and to take advantage of TMCC's offerings. In addition to the group sessions that I've put together and the one-on-one sessions, I'm also working closely with our recruiting and retention office to deliver direct group sessions for their populations, both on our Dandini campus and at any community site where they have sufficient interest. I'm more than happy to drive out there. And in addition to that, I'll be doing one-on-one sessions for anybody that is not able to make our admittedly narrow availability on our workshop dates. If you have any people that might benefit from it, please don't hesitate to get in touch or refer them to me. I'm very happy to work with you and your people one-on-one to support their goals. I'm also coordinating a pair of student mentors who will be supporting these folks as they go through their career exploration process, and those folks will also be attempting to set up site visits for many of our potential local employers so we can sort of build a pipeline that takes a person from interest in training all the way through placement. Any questions I can answer for you?
Just quickly, which department at TMCC are you with? Counseling, thank you. Just wanted to make sure I knew where to find you.
Nancy McCormick, Edon. A couple of quick things I wanted to offer up. One is that as part of the partnership that we did with the Washoe County School District, we actually took the members of the counselor teams out to visit employers and to sit down and have conversations with those employers about the different jobs, the different skills, and so forth, just to better familiarize the counselors with all that's going on, because it's hard to keep up with the pace that's going on. So I would extend that offer to you and your team as well, if that would be beneficial when you're counseling students. And then on the second piece, as far as contacts in order to arrange tours or to make visits, we certainly have now over 500 companies on our primary company list where we have visited them over the past 5 years. So we could certainly collaborate on that as well. If there's a particular company that you want to be connected with that isn't a partner today, we could potentially assist. So you're welcome to reach out to me or my team at any time.
I will, absolutely. Thank you.
And I have her contact info, so.
Awesome.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Karin?
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
So Karin Hilgersum, and for the record, and I am here to make a surprise presentation to Kali Hutter for her amazing dedication to Truckee Meadows Community College. We couldn't do it without you, Kali. You have just been a force to be reckoned with. And I cannot imagine a better IAC chair, especially since this was the first IAC experience. And I think you have just been so marvelous at ushering this committee into and integrating it with TMCC. So we wanted to thank you. And we have a couple of parting gifts.
Nice gifts.
Oh, my goodness.
Lovely.
Oh my, I get up and run for those.
They're kind of big, so she might need help.
Yeah, those are gorgeous.
Yeah.
Oh, my word. Look,
Aren't those beautiful? Raffle prize or something, but it's not. This is for you.
Thank you. Oh, my goodness.
Anyway, it's heavy, so we'll
thank you.
well, we'll put it on the chair.
Thank you
Anyway,
so much.
but thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Very
everything.
quickly, I know everyone wants to go. Thank you very much for your support, and I really appreciate it. You are the most fantastic group to work with. It's been interesting for our first 2.5 years, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how we do in the next 2 years. And I think it's going to be great. And thank you to the new leadership for taking over and letting Michonne and I sit at the end of the table.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
Great.
And meeting adjourned.